All right, so you want to unlock fluency in English.
We've got your research right here, and it's amazing.
Like, how much research has gone into this?
Actionable advice. And let's just say we're about to discover how much time you really need to dedicate each day.
Yeah, plus
We get to break it all down for you.
we've uncovered some surprisingly fun ways to weave English into your everyday life.
The best part is you can use these insights to supercharge your own language journey.
I love that the source dives right in making a really important distinction. Fluency isn't about transforming into a walking, talking grammar textbook. It's about communication.
Right.
They actually break it down into 4 key skills: understanding, speaking, reading, and writing.
And, I think a lot of people get so caught up in perfecting their grammar that they forget about actually using the language.
Absolutely. It's like learning all the rules of basketball, but never actually playing a game. This source really emphasizes the practical aspects of fluency, being able to navigate real-world situations smoothly. Think confidently, ordering food at a restaurant.
Effortlessly chatting with colleagues or even enjoying a movie without subtitles, that's fluency in action.
I love that fluency is being able to fully experience things you enjoy in English. Speaking of enjoying things, the source gets that everyone learns differently. It's not one size fits all.
Right.
They highlight how your journey is shaped by things like your current English level, how much you're already exposed to English daily, even your learning style.
It's like a personalized language learning plan.
It is.
Like, your starting level obviously matters. A complete beginner is going to have a different path than someone who's already comfortable with the basics.
Right.
That's why this source provides different time frames based on your current level.
Oh, yeah.
For instance, they suggest beginners dedicate around 2 to 3 hours a day to structured learning, while those at an intermediate level can see great results with 1 to 2 hours.
That makes a ton of sense. It's all about building on what you already know.
Right.
And those time frames sound pretty doable.
Yeah,
But I know what you're thinking. Those daily goals can feel a bit daunting.
they can.
Well, the source addresses that too, emphasizing that it's not about cramming all those hours in at once.
Right.
They actually found that shorter, focused study sessions consistently sprinkled throughout your day are more effective than marathon study sessions.
Isn't that interesting?
It is.
And there's actual science behind it.
Really?
The source highlights research showing that our brains thrive on these short bursts of focused learning.
It's like building muscle.
Okay.
Consistent, targeted workouts are more effective than one massive workout once a month.
Okay, that's a game changer.
So we can ditch the guilt about not having huge chunks of time.
Exactly.
But let's be real, even with manageable study sessions, sometimes learning a language can feel, well, a bit like work.
Sure.
That's why I love that this source injects some fun into the mix.
Yeah.
They have a whole section dedicated to making English a natural part of your day, almost like you're immersing yourself in it without even realizing you're learning.
Creating that immersive environment is key. Think about it. We learned our first language through constant exposure, listening to our families, singing songs, even just playing around with words. This source encourages us to recreate that immersive experience, but this time with English.
Okay, so it's like we're tapping into the power of our inner child.
Yes.
And it doesn't sound like we need to reinvent the wheel here.
They actually suggest simple things like listening to podcasts while you work out, switching your usual audiobooks to English ones,
Yeah.
even just changing your phone's language settings.
Exactly.
It's all about making English a natural part of your daily routine.
Okay.
And the best part is these activities don't feel like studying,
Right.
but they're still supercharging your language learning.
It's like sneaking in a workout without even realizing it.
I love that analogy.
But before we get too caught up in the fun stuff, I'm curious about how this source balances these immersive activities with dedicated study time. Because let's face it, grammar drills and vocabulary lists aren't always the most exciting part of learning a new language.
You're right. We can't just binge watch Netflix and expect to speak fluent English.
Right.
The source emphasizes that while these immersive activities are crucial,
We still need to dedicate time to focused learning.
yeah,
Think of it like building a house. Those immersive activities are like gathering the wood, bricks, and tools.
okay.
But you still need a blueprint and a plan to build a solid structure.
Right.
That's where focused study comes in.
It provides the foundation and structure you need to excel in those real-world situations.
That's such a great point. It's about finding that balance between enjoying the process and putting in the work to build a strong foundation.
Yeah.
But, okay, let's address the question I know is on everyone's mind.
The source mentions research from the Foreign Service Institute suggesting it takes roughly 600 to 1,200 hours to reach fluency. Now, before you panic,
Right.
That sounds like a lot.
But the source breaks it down in a really manageable way.
Exactly. Don't let that number scare you off.
Okay.
The source emphasizes that it's not about cramming all those hours in as quickly as possible. It's about consistency over intensity. They've actually crunched the numbers to show you how even dedicating as little as 1 hour a day consistently can lead to significant progress.
Okay, now that feels way less intimidating.
And it highlights the power of small, consistent actions over time, which I think is incredibly motivating.
I agree.
And remember, this time frame varies depending on your individual learning style, your language background, and how much time you can realistically dedicate.
Makes sense.
It's about understanding your own pace and celebrating the small wins along the way.
Absolutely. Every conversation you have, every article you understand, those are all victories worth celebrating. Speaking of which, the source delves into some really cool techniques for making those study sessions even more effective.
It's not just about cracking open a textbook anymore.
Right.
They've got some creative approaches that sound seriously engaging.
Yeah, right. They actually emphasize the power of active learning, which is basically engaging with the language in a way that makes you think, respond, and actively use what you're learning. It's a step beyond just passively listening or reading.
Okay, so active learning, it's about getting those brain muscles working. I'm all for that. What kind of techniques are we talking about here?
Well, one that really stood out to me is the idea of incorporating more speaking opportunities, even if you're not in a traditional classroom setting. They specifically mention language exchange apps, which are incredible for connecting with native speakers worldwide. It's like having a conversation partner right in your pocket.
I've heard great things about those apps.
Yeah.
It sounds like a fun way to meet new people and practice your speaking skills at the same time.
Absolutely. And don't worry, you don't need to be fluent to start using them. Many apps cater to different levels, so you can find conversation partners who match your current skills. And if the thought of talking to a stranger online feels a bit intimidating, the source offers another suggestion that's a bit more, shall we say, introverted friendly.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's this introvert-approved technique?
Talking to yourself in English. I know it sounds a bit strange, but hear me out. They explain that speaking out loud, even if it's just to yourself, helps solidify those neural pathways in your brain. It gets you more comfortable with pronunciation, forming sentences on the fly, and expressing your thoughts spontaneously, all without the pressure of an audience.
That's actually brilliant. It's like having a private rehearsal space for your English skills. And honestly, who hasn't talked to themselves at some point, right? So why not make it productive?
Exactly. And if you're feeling up to taking it a step further, the source suggests recording yourself speaking and then listening back. It's like having your own personal language coach. You can pinpoint areas where you might stumble, fine-tune your pronunciation, and really track your progress over time.
Those are some seriously practical tips, and I love how they cater to different learning styles and comfort levels. But what about those of us who learn best through reading and writing? Does this source have any advice for us word nerds?
Absolutely. They dedicate a good chunk to incorporating reading and writing into your routine as well. And again, they emphasize making it enjoyable, not just another chore on your to-do list. For reading, they suggest exploring news articles in English, maybe swapping your usual news source for something like the BBC or The Guardian.
Ooh, I like that.
Oh,
It's a way to stay informed about current events while also immersing yourself in the language. And there's something for every interest out there. Politics, sports, entertainment, you name it. Reading about topics you actually enjoy makes the learning process feel much less like, well, learning.
exactly. And if you're looking for something a bit more niche, they highlight the world of blogs. No matter what you're passionate about, travel photography, cooking, even underwater basket weaving, chances are there's a whole community of English-speaking bloggers out there sharing their experiences.
It's like tapping into this global network of people who share your interests. I can see how that would make learning English feel more like joining a conversation than studying a language.
Precisely. And speaking of conversation, when it comes to writing, they suggest engaging with English-speaking users on social media. Leave comments, share your thoughts, join discussions. It's all valuable practice.
Social media for language learning, such a great way to make it feel natural and relevant to our daily lives. I'm all for that. But what about those of us who prefer putting pen to paper?
They've got that covered too. The source suggests keeping a journal in English. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, just a place to jot down your thoughts, ideas, even just your daily to-do list.
I love that. It's a judgment-free zone to play with the language, make mistakes, and track your progress without any pressure.
And here's the cool part. All of these techniques, whether it's using a language exchange app or simply switching your phone settings to English, work together to create this immersive environment that constantly challenges and reinforces your learning.
So it's not about finding one magic solution. It's about creating a language-rich environment that keeps you engaged and motivated. And honestly, that sounds a lot more fun than just memorizing verb conjugations.
Exactly. It's about finding what works for you and weaving English into your life in a way that feels natural and enjoyable.
Okay, so we've talked about the importance of consistent study time, active learning, and creating an immersive environment. But realistically, how long does it take to actually achieve fluency? Is there a light at the end of this language learning tunnel?
That's where this research gets really interesting. It reminds us that fluency isn't a destination, it's a journey. A journey with no finish line, you could say.
Ooh, I like that. So it's less about reaching some ultimate goal and more about constantly growing and evolving in your use of English.
Exactly. Think of it like this. Even native English speakers are constantly learning new words, refining their grammar, and adapting to the ever-changing nuances of the language. Fluency is a lifelong pursuit, and that's what makes it so exciting.
I love that perspective. It takes the pressure off needing to reach some perfect level of fluency and allows us to embrace the process of continuous learning.
Precisely. And the beauty of this journey is that it's uniquely yours. You get to decide what fluency looks like for you, what goals you want to achieve, and how you want to weave English into your life.
That's empowering. It means we get to define success on our own terms. But I have to ask, with all this talk of ongoing journeys and personalized definitions of fluency, is there anything we can do to make the process a little smoother, a little more, dare I say, enjoyable?
Absolutely. This source is packed with actionable tips for making language learning fun and engaging. And one thing that really resonated with me is their emphasis on finding your why.
Your why. Tell me more about that.
It's about identifying your motivation for learning English. What are you hoping to achieve with this new skill? Is it to connect with people from different cultures, advance in your career, or finally enjoy those novels you've always wanted to read in their original language? Whatever your why is, this source encourages you to keep it front and center. It'll be your guiding star on those days when studying feels a bit challenging, reminding you why you embarked on this journey in the first place.
That's such a powerful reminder. Our motivation is like this hidden superpower that can fuel our progress. I know for me, I'm learning Spanish right now and remembering that I want to have conversations with my grandmother in her native language that keeps me going.
Exactly. It's those personal connections, those meaningful goals that transform language learning from a chore into something truly rewarding.
I couldn't agree more. Wow, this deep dive has been eye-opening. We've busted some myths about fluency, explored practical techniques for making English a part of our everyday lives, and even uncovered the power of our own motivation.
It's amazing how much valuable information was packed into this research. We've only just scratched the surface, but hopefully this deep dive has given you a solid foundation to start building your own personalized path to fluency.
Absolutely. Remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about progress. So celebrate the small wins, embrace the journey, and never lose sight of your why. Happy learning, everyone.